right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to refresh and are feeling energized, as I am, as we start the next half of the group for our competition today. We're now transitioning to the 11 to 12-year-old finalists. And as these students grow, so does the complexity of their ideas and their understanding of our global impact. We eagerly await the creativity and deep insights of these young citizens and that are about to share regarding the UN Sustainable Development Goals. To open this category, please join me in welcoming Noman Vakil.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Noman Vakil, and today I will be talking about gender equality. One thing we lack globally is gender equality. Gender equality is where everyone, regardless if they're a boy or a girl, gets equal opportunities and equal treatment. Many girls around the world don't get the opportunities we get here in North America. In the past, many societies thought of women as inferior because they did not have as much strength as boys did. But really, women are not inferior at all. It is proven that in most regions, girls excel in academics more than boys do, and a boy is more likely to drop out of school more than a girl is. According to the United Nations, out of the 754 million adults in the world that are illiterate, meaning who don't know how to read, 63% of them are women. That is because women do not get the privileges and opportunities and education that boys get. Here's the story. Amara is a young girl from the northern sub-Saharan region of Africa. Amara comes from a very poor family. Amara's dad runs a small shoe polishing company on the street, and Amara's mom sadly does not know how to read or write. Unlike her mom, Amara was able to get an education, except only up to the 8th grade, since there were no high schools in her village who allowed girls. Amara has a brother named Akia. Unlike Amara, Akia does not care about his studies at all and gets very bad grades. On the other hand, Amara is really good at her studies and she loves to read. Amara always has Akia go to the local library to get her some books to read, since the local library does not allow girls. After the 8th grade, Amara was stuck home doing chores for 5 to 6 hours a day with her mom, chores that Akia or her dad never did or had to do. When Amara turned 18, she was forced to go through extremely barbaric and painful cutting known as FGM. This was conducted by the village. Amara's mom or dad did not have a say because all the girls in the village had to go through this process at a certain age. After some time, Amara was tired with her life. She decided to move to the big city to find a job and live her own life. Amara tried to lay a job as a local school teacher, but two things kept coming back to her: the fact that she was a girl and the fact that she did not have a secondary or university education. Eventually, Amara got a job as a cleaning lady at the school, but that barely paid her enough to sustain a proper life in the big city, since the prices were significantly more than in her village. Eventually, Amara moved back home, where she was forced to get married and remained a housewife for the rest of her life. Even though Amara had so much academic talent, she was never able to pursue it because she was a girl and because she didn't get the chances that boys got. Unfortunately, this is the reality for most girls in that region and for many other girls all around the world. Gender inequality might not be as loud in North America as it was in my story, but it is subtle. And whenever you see anything like this happen ever, it is always good to help and stop it. Because if anything, that will make our world a better place. Thank you for listening.
Great, thank you so much, Noman. That was a wonderful speech, raising awareness of an issue that we haven't heard about yet today, but gender equality is something that is very, very important, and nice to hear these ideas coming from a young man. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker to the stage from the 11 to 12-year-old category, Elizabeth Hu.
The fresh air we once breathed had become car exhaust. The most colorful coral reefs have turned white and lifeless. The climate is spiraling out of control. All of this traces back to one source: fossil fuels. Coal, oil, and natural gas have powered our civilization for decades, but at what cost? Every time we burn them, we release toxic pollutants and greenhouse gases. As a result, fossil fuels are driving climate change, ocean acidification, and air pollution. We need to shift to cleaner energy, and it is no longer optional. It is urgent. Climate change is clearly the most visible consequence. Carbon dioxide traps heat in our atmosphere, raising global temperatures by 1.5 degrees in recent years. Consequently, ice caps are melting, with worldwide mountain glaciers losing more than 7 trillion tons of ice since 2000. At the same time, seas are rising and storms are growing stronger, as seen in Hurricane Melissa, which scientists found was intensified by warmer oceans linked to climate change. Because of this, communities, ecosystems, and species are all at risk. The warning signs are clear and growing louder every year. However, you might think the ocean is too far away to feel the smoke of factories and the exhaust of our cars. In reality, it absorbs the damage every single day. Oceans absorb nearly 1/3 of the carbon dioxide that humans release, making some seawater acidic. Since the Industrial Revolution, ocean acidity has increased by 30%, silently weakening marine ecosystems. Coral reefs, often called the Amazon rainforest of the sea, support around 25% of all marine life, yet they are slowly dissolving. As reefs collapse, fish populations decline, putting hundreds of millions of people's lives at risk of losing their food supply and livelihoods. In addition, air pollution stemming from fossil fuels is an invisible threat to our existence. Each gas-powered car, factory, and power plant contributes to a toxic haze that permeates our air. Although it may seem unseen, this pollution affects everyone: children on their way to school, athletes outdoors, and families in parks are inhaling harmful particles. As a result, fossil fuels are now the second leading risk factor for death globally, leading to 7.9 million deaths in 2023 alone. In other words, the fuels that power our society are silently damaging the atmosphere that we depend on. For this reason, it's crucial to confront this silent but deadly crisis for the sake of our health and future. Meanwhile, the world is facing a climate emergency, yet governments remain too cautious. While they invest in renewable sources and cleaner energy and promote electric vehicles, energy productivity has only increased by 1.8%. Furthermore, major policies like the European Green Deal and emissions regulations fall short of what is needed to prevent a climate disaster, as gas emissions continue to rise. Fossil fuels may have driven progress in the past, but they now pose a severe threat to our planet and ecosystems. The solutions and technologies are available, and our choices matter. If everybody in this room reduces energy use, consumes responsibly, supports pro-environmental policies, and even just tell your friends and families about the situation we're in, we can make a difference starting here at BSS, and maybe someday across the world. I'm afraid that if we fail to act, future generations will inherit the consequences of our inaction rather than the benefits of our achievements. Together, we can ignite the change that our planet desperately needs. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I love the ideas that you shared. And one point that is going to stay with me that I hadn't realized is that the acidity of the water, the oceans, has increased 30% since the Industrial Revolution. And I bet with the increasing production of technology, it's probably been a lot more in recent years. So thank you for sharing those wonderful ideas with us. Moving on to our next speaker, number 3 in our age 11 to 12 category. Please join me in welcoming Magant Somasundaram to the stage.
Imagine you and your family having a good time, laughing and feeling safe. But then somebody comes knocking on your door and tells you that you have to leave your house because they need to build something new there. Look, this will most likely not happen to you, but this is the truth that most animals face around the world. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Magant Somasundaram, and today I'll be talking about a important matter, UN Sustainable Goal number 15. Today, my topic will inform us about the problems that humans face, the problems that animals face, and what we can do to fix it. First, let's talk about how humans are affecting nature and wildlife in negative ways. Some of you in the crowd may ask, hey, why should we even care about nature and wildlife? Because the damage that we cause them will soon affect us too. Many species are in danger, and some are disappearing because their homes are being destroyed by human activity. In addition, air and water pollution, along with changing weather patterns, are also harming our planet. Pollution is especially bad, as if an animal drinks contaminated water, the animal could fall ill or even die. But these problems don't only affect animals, they affect us too. So this brings me to my second topic, how it affects humans. When we do not take care of the earth, we put our health in danger. It is easier for diseases to spread when the earth is hurt. These diseases include ones that animals can give to us, like Ebola or COVID-19, or ones that come from the water, like cholera. But these diseases don't only hurt our health, they hurt our economy too. Zoonotic diseases cost the world over 2 million deaths each year and trillions trying to fix and maintain. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 cost the world's economy $16 trillion trying to fix and maintain. Now, let's talk about what we can do to make things better, because there is still hope. The first thing we can do is simple. You can even do it right now even, and it's to tell people, talk to your friends, your family, and your community, because change often begins with small conversations, and those conversations can turn into big actions. The next thing we can do is just to be kinder to nature in general. This can include making choices that are good for the earth, like not littering, not wasting water, and helping to protect wildlife and their homes. Today, I talked about how humans are affecting nature and wildlife in negative ways, how that comes back to affect us, and what we can do to stop it. The truth is, taking care of nature and wildlife is not just about saving animals. It's about protecting our own future. So every choice you make, no matter how big or how small, affects the earth. So the next time you decide to litter, waste water, or ignore what's happening to our planet, remember one thing. We only have one home. And if we do not do something now, the damages might be too major to fix. So let's be the people who stand up and protect the only home that we have. Thank you.
Wonderful job. Thank you, Magant. I love the 2 very simple action items there. Small conversations that can lead to action, and being kind to nature. It's something we can all put into place, as you said, as we walk out of this room today. So thank you very much for that. Let's get ready for our fourth speaker in our age 11 to 12 category. Please join me in welcoming Tristan Mitra.
In May 2000, the city of Walkerton was hit with severe contamination of their municipal water. Over 2,000 in the area were sick due to E. coli that was in the water. Hello, my name is Tristan Mitra, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about a very important matter: clean water and sanitation. Imagine what it is like in a place where there is no clean water and no sanitation. Think of how sick someone could get. Is it fair for them when you're wasting your clean water? Clean water is important because it prevents diseases from getting into your body. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you why we need to help people without clean water and sanitation, what's been done to help the cause, and what more can we do. To begin, many people die each year without clean water and sanitation. We can do something to prevent that. Roughly 2.2 billion people today still need access to clean water and sanitation. Clean water is important because it prevents unfiltered chemicals from getting into our body. For example, lead can lead to serious poisoning. So, what has been done to help this cause? While there are still many people out there who need access to clean water and sanitation, we are making a difference. The percent of people with clean water increased from 69% in 2015 to 74% in 2025. During the same time period, the amount of people with proper sanitation increased from 48% to 58%. We are also learning how to reuse water, and we are creating water purification devices. Countries have even directed funds towards the causes of clean water and sanitation. For example, Canada funded water, hygiene, and sanitation services, also known as WASH, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Projects in Peru and Bolivia have helped to create and enhance groundwater access. Now to my final point. What more can we do? There's lots we can do to help the causes of clean water and sanitation. For example, we often use more water than needed. To prevent this, close taps when washing your hands and brushing your teeth. When you keep the tap running, you waste water. The same goes for long showers. When you take long showers, you waste good water. We might have an abundance of water, but not everyone does. My point is, don't waste water if you don't need to. You can also donate money and time to the causes of clean water and sanitation. Mr. Beast, a well-known YouTuber, has helped to create wells and give thousands of people access to clean water. What does that say about us? It shows that it doesn't matter how much money you have or what your job is. It only matters if you want to make a difference. You can be an adult or a child, decides to start small by talking about this issue, by donating to water charities, and by talking to others, or even by using your own skills to help in your own unique way. So the real question is, what do you want to do next? Because if we each just do one small action together, we can turn thirst into hope for the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tristan, for shedding some light on the importance of clean water and that sometimes we might take it for granted. We will move on to our fifth speaker in the age 11 to 12 category. Please join me in welcoming Jimin Lee.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time and attention today. I would like to start my speech off with a request. Look down at what you're wearing right now. Then ask yourself a question. Do you really know that much about your clothes? Do you know where they're made, how the materials are sourced, and who put them together for you? Believe it or not, these are important questions most people don't think to ask when shopping, but every dollar we spend can either add or detract from sustainability. That is why it's so important to be aware. That is why I chose to focus on UN SDG number 12, responsible consumption and production, to spread awareness about the impacts of fast fashion on the global environment and well-being. Did you know that 90% of the workers that make your clothes don't get fair pay? Isn't that mind-blowingly unfair? Bad business practices, such as underpaying workers and dumping waste to the environment, are common in the fast fashion industry. When we make decisions about where to spend our money, we are responsible for the outcomes of those choices. That's why it's so important to be aware of the production practices of the brands you shop from. Speaking of famous brands, there are several that you probably have in your closet right now who are some of the worst perpetrators. One of them is Nike. For example, in 2022, they were reported to have paid 400,000 Indian garment workers less than the legal minimum wage. Zara also creates roughly 450 million fast fashion garments per year, and most of them end up in landfills, where they get burned and contribute to climate change. Only 1% of their clothing ever ends up being recycled. So why is this such a big problem? All of the clothing being burned each year produces 8 to 10% of the global carbon emissions, which cause massive damage in atmospheres. Also, what we support through our money reflects who we are as people. If you wouldn't want to be treated unfairly at your job or school, then why support businesses that treat their employees unfairly? The good news is that there are clothing businesses that try and conserve the environment, like Patagonia. Patagonia has saved 80% of weight of fabric from the fall 2025 line. If more people made the decision to shop at brands making similar environmental decisions, a truly positive impact could be made towards our sustainability. I would like to end my time here today with a call to action for all of you. When you get home today, open your closet and ask yourself, would I be proud to tell people what brands I'm wearing after what I've learned here today? If the answer is no, I hope that you might try and consider practicing responsible consumption on your future clothing purchases, because everybody has the power to make a difference in the environment and climate change.
Very well done, Jimin. Thank you for those ideas. And I think that we're all thinking about what's in our closet, and we don't want to open that door, but it's very important that we do, and we don't shut the door on these important issues. So thank you for sharing these wonderful ideas. We will move on to our sixth speaker in this category. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Manal Yousaf.
1 in 5 children. Take a moment to visualize that. In a classroom of 20, 4 children are struggling, not with their homework, but with their health. My name is Manal Yousaf, and I'm here to speak for them. When the United Nations defines good health and well-being, they aren't just talking about lacks of coughs and colds. They're talking about the right to feel whole in every aspect of life. Our first challenge is the rise of non-communicable diseases, or NCDs. We often call them non-catchable diseases because they don't spread like a virus. Yet, they are the world's biggest silent killers. Once considered old people diseases, NCDs like diabetes and asthma now affect 1 in 7 children. They are fueled by the air we breathe and the food we eat. Today, NCDs cause 75% of global deaths, and many are tragically premature. While over 100 countries are fighting back by taxing sugar drinks and tobacco, the real change must begin with us. Choosing activity over inactivity and nutrition over junk. Our second challenge is a shattered shield. In 2024, 14.3 million children were classified as zero dose. This means 14.3 million children haven't received a single vaccine, leaving them defenseless against preventable diseases. Let's look at the math. To stop the spread of measles, we need a 95% vaccination rate. Currently, we are at 84%. That 11% gap is where the tragedy lives. We have the apps and technologies to find these children, but we need the collective will to protect them. In our final aspect, we must look inward. We cannot heal the body while ignoring the mind. Today, 1 in 7 people live with a mental health condition. Loneliness has also become a physical threat. 1 in 4 people in the world feel totally alone. Loneliness is proven to be as damaging to the body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Conditions like OCD do not exist alongside anxiety, they amplify it. In fact, 76% of people with OCD struggle with an additional anxiety disorder, creating a cycle of suffering, which is often invisible to the naked eye. Whether it's triggered by screen time, sleep deprivation, or chemical imbalances, mental health is not a choice. It's a necessity. Before we end, let me ask you 3 questions. First, when diseases once seen as adult problems are affecting children, what kind of world are we shaping through the food we eat and the environment we create? Secondly, just an 11% gap stands between safety and outbreaks. What is stopping us from protecting every child from diseases we already know how to prevent? Finally, in a world more connected than ever, why are so many young people feeling alone? And what does that say for how we care for one another? Thank you.
Wow, Manal, I could feel your passion for this issue. That was wonderfully shared, and I think you've given us all something to think about and take away with us here today. These issues are definitely growing, and we have to be cognizant of them and what kind of world we are creating if this is what we're seeing. I'm feeling very inspired today by all of you. This is wonderful. It's given me a lot to think about as we leave this room today. Let's move on to our next speaker. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Sai Sanvi Narayanan.
I want every single person in my audience to think about any woman you know, a friend, mother, or wife. Has she ever been denied? Has she ever been held back? Hello everybody, my name is Sai Sanvi, and today I will speak about gender equality. About 2.4 billion women are intentionally sidelined, with their potential withheld, while the world expects a globally thriving economy. Are you aware that women perform a vast majority of unpaid labor, working more than 12.5 billion hours? Who exactly is paying the price? Did you know that equally educated and qualified women earn 20% lesser than men? This topic holds a significant memory from my 8-year-old self. This memory showed me the future I needed to fight for. By the end of my speech, you will learn to challenge traditional roles socially and personally, understand the impact on leadership and results, and focus on equality and fairness for all future generations. To truly understand the issue, let us firstly address the magnanimous and invisible burden of societal unpaid labor. I would like to draw your attention to my first major point, challenging traditional roles under the lens of gender equality. We must recognize that unpaid labor is valid with equal division of childcare, house management, fixing appliances, and emotional vulnerability. We need to normalize gender-neutral education so men can explore art like Picasso and Michael Jackson, while women get to make the bigger income like Dr. Ayana Howard and Indra Nooyi, CEO of PepsiCo. This intentional shift ensures balance for everyone in their chosen field. Now that I've spoken about challenging traditional roles, let us move on to the impact on leadership and results. While we cross thresholds and push boundaries, let us see how this exists in the corporate and global setting.
We must promote equal representation where women get to be the CEO, have a child at any age, and not get asked how she is managing it all. We must also have pay transparency to eliminate the gaps that are a structural problem in gender-based pay disparity. My final point is the focus on equality and fairness for all future generations. After emphasizing on the voids of gender equality socially, personally, and professionally, we must look at the effect it produces on our children. We break cycles of inequality by eliminating gender-based discrimination, including harmful practices like child marriages. Nearly 300,000 young girls in the US are married to adult men in the years 2000 to 2018. Gender equality is a fundamental human right and the core of sustainable development, helping to unlock full potential in innovation and maximize prosperity and economic growth. Future generations must understand the importance of letting everybody pursue what they set their mind on. To wind down, my first point addressed the importance of gender-neutral education and how no job should be labeled based on gender. The second point revealed the need to promote equal representation in business and remove gender-based pay disparity. Ultimately, we must fast-track gender equality, not just because it's the right thing to do, but a smart, sustainable, and essential way to secure the future. I hope that my speech has shown you that we should not have labeled roles and a future where society can thrive and grow based on cerebral opportunity, not gender. It was my absolute pleasure to talk about a topic of high importance to me, and I hope it gets you all to look at the minutely dominant absence of gender inequality. Here's one quote empowering us women. When girls are valued less than boys, women less than men, they face multiple risks throughout their lives, at home, at school, from their families, and from strangers. Gender-based violence is a major consequence of gender inequality. It is a world phenomenon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai Sanvi. That was an enlightening speech. You packed in a lot of ideas into a very short speech, and you've really shed more light onto this issue of gender equality. I think that you're absolutely right that we have to break down those barriers so everybody can see themselves from their cerebral potential rather than their gender. Thank you very much. Let's move to our next speaker in this category. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Caitlin Wong.
Global warming is an extremely serious issue, and if we do not act soon, it will cause devastating problems for future generations. Climate change is not just something that might happen someday. It's already happening, right now. We are seeing rising sea levels, loss of natural habitats, and impacts on communities around the world, including indigenous peoples. My name is Caitlin, and today I'll be speaking about climate change and why it's so important that we take action together. One major effect of climate change is rising sea levels. As global temperatures increase, glaciers and ice caps melt, causing ocean levels to rise. This puts entire countries at risk of being submerged underwater. For example, the island nation of Tuvalu has been predicted to be completely underwater within the next century. Other places, such as the Maldives, many islands of Fiji, and even large portions of the Netherlands face similar threats. When sea levels rise, people are forced to flee their homes, becoming climate refugees because of changes they did not cause. Another serious issue is the loss of natural habitats for animals. Animals rely on a stable environment to survive, just like humans do. And when habitats disappear, extinction becomes a very real possibility. And once a species is gone, it's gone forever. Climate change is also impacting indigenous communities, especially those living in Arctic regions. Many indigenous people rely on ice, land, and wildlife for transportation, food, and cultural traditions. As ice melts and ecosystems change, their traditional ways of life are being disrupted. This shows that climate change is not just an environmental issue, but also a social and cultural one. Often, when people talk about stopping climate change, they suggest things like carpooling, taking shorter showers, or wearing a sweater instead of turning up the heat. While these actions can help, not everyone is willing or able to make such changes, and it can feel discouraging when it seems that individual efforts do not matter. However, there are simple and realistic ways to help. For example, when you stop littering, it prevents pollution from harming ecosystems, and starting a small garden can make a positive difference. Gardening is not only good for the environment, but it also provides fresh fruits and vegetables. Plants absorb carbon dioxide during photosynthesis and release oxygen, helping improve air quality. If you want your children's children's children to have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, we must work together now to slow climate change. But if we continue living the way we are living now, then future generations may face a world so polluted that stepping outside could be dangerous. The choice is ours. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my speech today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. I think that the whole time you were talking about climate change, I was looking at this beautiful image of the Earth and thinking how blue and green it is, and how it won't look that way if we're not conscious of our contributions to the planet. And I'm thinking about my children's children's children now and how I can make sure the world's a better place for them. Thank you very much. Let's move to our next speaker this afternoon. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Avira Jayarubin.
Hello everyone, my name is Avira. Today I will be discussing neurodiverse education, which is quality education for neurodiverse children. My brother was diagnosed with a communication disorder and autism, which made learning in school very difficult for him. He received the diagnosis of autism at the age of 9. So you can imagine how difficult the earlier years were for him. My experience with my brother has encouraged me to advocate for neurodiversity and to try to make a difference. Neurodiverse education is important because neurodiverse children continue to struggle with their education but do not receive enough support. In my speech, you will learn what neurodiverse education is, why it's important, where we are at today, what major barriers are, and what we can do to help. The University of Western Ontario stated neurodiversity refers to the differences in the way people's brains work. Neurodiverse education is the different ways in which children with neurodiversity need to learn. Neurodiverse education is important because a good education will help guide these kids to think, act, and feel in a way they will be able to live in our society. For example, a good education will help guide these kids into making good decisions in the future and to help them find jobs that support them. Now that I've explained what is neurodiverse education and why it's important, I want to discuss where we are at today. Currently, these children face a lot of barriers toward their education, such as a delayed diagnosis, not receiving educational tools, and support for their mental well-being. These problems exist today because there's not enough funding being given from the government. For example, when there is no diagnosis, teachers and parents cannot support the child in the way they need to learn. Or if a nonverbal child has no access to educational tools to communicate, they will not receive the support they need. And these barriers can cause them to feel a lot of negative emotions, which can affect their mental health. Now that I've explained where we are at with this problem today, let's discuss how we can help. We can help by creating awareness, asking our government to provide more funding, and you can donate to organizations that support neurodiverse education. We should also be learning from other countries that are leading in neurodiverse education. According to PubMed, Finland, Denmark, and Sweden are leading because they train teachers and provide individualized support that is neuroaffirmative, which does not focus on finding their weaknesses, but their strengths. In summary, neurodiverse children are in need of neurodiverse education. National Longitude Survey in Canada stated 1 in 11 children between the ages 4 to 11 have a neurodiversity. Canada is falling behind in providing an adequate neurodiverse education to support a healthy development of these children, and this needs to change. I hope my speech has shown you the importance of neurodiverse education. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk to you about what's important to me.
Thank you so much, Avira. That was enlightening, and we could see and feel the personal connection and the passion that you had and the care that you have for your brother. So thank you for sharing that with us. Let's welcome our next speaker to the stage. Please join me in welcoming Adam Ahmed.
I was 6 years old when me and my family went to India. Excited, curious, thirsty. I reached for the tap, but my parents stopped me cold. It had to be boiled, filtered every single day. I didn't understand it then, but that moment quietly broke something in me. The belief that the world was fair, that something as simple as water was something everyone just had. Good morning, judges, parents, and fellow students. My name is Adam, and I want to talk about something that connects every human being on this planet, and the quiet tragedy of those who live without it. As Nelson Mandela once said, water is life, and clean water means health. Yet that health is out of reach for billions. Here's the reality we don't talk about enough. 2 billion people on this planet don't have access to clean drinking water. Every year, 1.4 million people die to waterborne diseases: cholera, typhoid, dysentery. Mothers watch their children suffer from illnesses that could have been prevented by a clean glass of water. Every 2 minutes in the time it takes you to read a text, tie your shoes, take a sip from your water bottle, a child somewhere in the world dies. Not from famine, not from war, from water. In fact, more people die each year from water than they do from all forms of violence combined, including war. You might think that's far away, not our problem. But consider this: Canada is one of the wealthiest nations on earth. Yet, for over 2 decades, more than 600 boil water advisories have been issued in First Nation communities. Niskantika First Nations have been living under one for 25 years. Children grew up not knowing what it was like to trust their own tap. Parents were unable to give their kids something we walk past 100 times a day without a second thought. In Canada, in our lifetime, on our watch, and globally, women and girls spend an estimated 200 million hours every day collecting water. Hours stolen from school, from work, from childhood. So, how does this happen? Agriculture runoff, industrial waste, oil spills, and garbage poisons our rivers and lakes. Up to 80% of water pollution is created from waste we create. Every day, 2 million tons of sewage and industrial waste is discharged into the world's water sources. The problem is human-made, which means so is the solution. The United Nations made clean water for everybody by 2030, Sustainable Development Goal 6. But experts say we are falling behind. That means we can no longer wait for the government alone. It falls on us. So, what can we do? First, protect what we have. Reduce plastic, dispose of waste properly, join a cleanup. One plastic water bottle takes 450 years to decompose. Our carelessness outlives us. Second, give what you can. For just $25, organizations like Water.org or Charity Water can give one person water for an entire year. One small action, one life change. Third, refuse to stay silent. Talk about this. Share it, because problems ignored are problems that grow. Water is life, and always has been. Yet, millions of people, children, wake up every day without it. That's not somebody else's burden to carry. It's ours. Together, with caring hearts and deliberate choices, we can shape a world where no child reaches for the tap and is turned away. Thank you, and remember, every drop counts.
Well done, Adam. Thank you for sharing those wonderful ideas with us. And there's some statistics there that I wasn't aware of, and really getting me thinking about our water consumption. It actually got me thinking as well about how single-use plastics were very common when I was growing up, and now it's more common to see people with these reusable water bottles. But we're feeling the impact of what we were doing decades ago, and we have to make change now so that we don't continue down that path. You've really been inspiring, all of you so far. And thank you to those of you that have been patiently waiting for your turn to come and share your ideas. We've reached the halfway point, so we're making our way really nicely through our panel of speakers. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker to the stage, Dafia Sayed-Ali Badusha.
The first duty of society is justice. Quoted by Alexander Hamilton. On November 5, 1971, Donald Marshall was falsely convicted of murder, a serious offense. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. It was only after 13 years that he was proven innocent to court and released. But think about it. 13 years wasted. That's 4,750 days. All for a crime he didn't even commit. Why did this happen? Because the investigation wasn't carried out properly. See how one act of injustice took away more than a decade of someone's life? Yeah. And unfortunately, he isn't the only one who's been affected by this. Ladies and gentlemen, judges and fellow peers, my name is Dafia, and I'm here today in hopes of raising awareness to the Sustainable Development Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. A topic not spoken enough of. Hopefully, my speech is worth your time. True peace is not merely the absence of tension. It is the presence of justice. Quoted by Martin Luther King. When we think of justice, we think of laws, orders, keeping things in check, but that's not all. We need peace. Now, peace isn't just no war. Peace is where everyone's voices, concerns, and reports are listened to and handled in the right way. So horrible things like violence, abuse, genocide, etc. can be prevented. Globally, about 400,000 homicides happen per year. The statistics are incredibly alarming. SDG 16.1 is to significantly reduce all forms of violence and related death rates everywhere. How can we, as civilians, help achieve this target? Well, for one, spread awareness. Break the silence. The more individuals are aware of what's going on around the world, the less tolerance we have for it. Another thing we can do is by reporting any suspicious behavior early instead of waiting for things to escalate. Studies show that reporting early drops risk by 20%. That 20% could be a life changer, literally. In matters of truth and justice, there's no difference between large and small problems. Quoted by Albert Einstein. A world without justice is a broken world. Justice is crucial to every person's well-being, even if it might not seem like it sometimes. What would you do if something happened to you, a crime, whatever that might be, and you just couldn't report it? Your cry for help fell to deaf ears. And yet, for many people around the world, this isn't some crazy hypothetical scenario. This is reality. In their world, justice doesn't exist. Their world is broken. Some can't afford the cost of law, lawyers, transportation, education, etc. Some minors are being ignored. Some people are being treated unfairly because of their identity and ethnic background. Some institutions are bribed or corrupt. And some people aren't even aware of their legal rights, making it impossible for them to even know if something needs to be reported. All these barriers, they're a big problem. They can range from someone's wallet to being stolen to someone dying. This is not okay. If we want a peaceful society, a peaceful world, all these barriers must be destroyed. Where law ends, tyranny begins. Quoted by John Locke. Institutions such as courts, police stations, parliaments, schools, etc. have power. In fact, a lot of institutions around the world have the power to put an end to horrible things going around the world. But the question is, are all institutions using their power properly? Goals like SDG 16.5 is to reduce corruption and bribery in all their forms, and SDG 0.6 is to develop effective, accountable, and honest institutions for all levels. Things as small as refusing, reporting, and not normalizing bribery can go a long way. I remember a couple of weeks ago in school, me and my friends were just sitting, talking, and discussing an assignment. The people behind us, they were joking about the same thing they did every single day. Now, I'm not going to name anything, but these were some super inappropriate and sensitive topics that were enough to make anyone feel uncomfortable. By the way, you could get suspended for talking about this, much less casually joking, and yet our teacher was right there, and they weren't exactly discreet. Be honest. Raise your hand if you would have said something at that moment. Not a lot. Sometimes it's not easy to stand up, especially in moments like this. I mean, I didn't say anything. I was trying to ignore that conversation. But my good friend beside me did. Now I admit, this isn't the most mature way to handle a situation, but it was said in a moment of frustration. 2 words. Shut up. That day, I felt a deep sense of injustice. Our teacher didn't say a single thing to the people behind us. Instead, she decided to lecture my friend on disrespectful tone. This is also injustice, not in a grand courtroom, but in a classroom. This is why strong institutions matter. This shows that laws can't just be made. They have to be prioritized and enforced fairly. Without that, laws start feeling unfair, unrealistic, unreliable, and people start losing their trust in justice. All that is necessary for evil to succeed is that good people do nothing. Quoted by Edmund Burke. While exploring more and more into this topic, I found it incredibly depressing. Not because of the horrifying statistics, not even because of what's happening on the news, but the fact that it felt like there was nothing we could do about it. This isn't like global warming, where we can simply help by planting trees or walking instead of using a car. No, this topic is more complex and thus met with more controversies and difficulties, but that is exactly why we need to take action, even small. Silence promotes injustice more than anything. Here are some things we can do to help achieve SDG 16. 1. Spread awareness. I've already mentioned this a couple of times before, and I will again. Spreading awareness is one of the most significant things we can do. Read the news, discuss with other people, and make it your goal to mention the reality of our world to someone new every day. 2, follow the law. This one is common sense. The key to stopping injustice is to not be a part of it yourself. Follow the even small, seemingly annoying ones, like picking up after your dog, not littering, or crossing the road appropriately. Not only does this ensure the safety of yourself and others, it also discourages the normalization of lawbreaking. 3, know your rights. While there is no official number of how many people worldwide don't know their rights, after looking at a few surveys, it has had me to conclude that a good chunk of people don't. This could be because of living in rural places with no internet, limited education, language barriers, or simply because people think that learning their legal rights aren't as important. We're in a cycle of, I'm not ever gonna need it. Trust me, we've all been there before. And hopefully you won't, but it's good to know just in case things get messy. And finally, I highly encourage you when you have the time to search up SDG 16 on Google, read the website, and learn more. This topic is way too vast and complicated to be covered in one small speech. We can make a change if all of us get together, put in the effort and determination. The aim for Sustainable Development Goal 16 is promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions for all levels. I would like to end my words today with a question that I really want you to think about. If not us, then who will change this world? Ladies and gentlemen, contestants and judges, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Dafia. I can say that reflecting back on my 12-year-old self, I did not have such an awareness of social justice, and there's no way I could have spoke about it with such clarity and depth. So thank you very much for shedding light on this issue for us. There was also some really nice concrete actions that we can take to uphold these social justice issues. Moving along to our next speaker in this category, please help me to welcome to the stage Karthihan Kamalanathan.
A world of plenty, yet a mountain of waste. We buy and we make, all to be replaced, our world. A trash can for our thoughts misplaced. Will we see the truth in the piles of food and compost? It tears too deep. Good afternoon, respected judges and fellow audience members. My name is Karthihan Kamalanathan, and today I will be taking the time to address the 12th UN Sustainable Development Goal of responsible consumption and production. Picture this. A room filled ceiling high with plastic bags, electronics, and clothes. This represents your annual waste. Now multiply that by 8 billion people. This replicates our take, make, consume, waste reality. True sustainability isn't just recycling. It's entering that room, choosing only to bring in what can be reused and repaired, shrinking that pile till it disappears. Throughout my speech, you'll learn why we should not overconsume, why we should not overproduce, and what we as individuals and a community can do to help. The first point I will explain today is overconsumption. Overconsumption, where people extract resources from the planet faster than they can be replenished, is an issue that will forever change our planet if not accounted for. Earth Overshoot Day marks the moment in time in which we exhaust our annual ecological budget, a limit we now routinely surpass. Long before modern sustainability goals, the Indigenous peoples of Canada lived by a respect for the land. They recognized the consumption and production that they used, and their governance created lush, flourishing forests that settlers first encountered, a reality only found in our dreams. Beyond consumption, we must address overproduction. High demand and misleading deals drive brands to produce massive quantities of goods. In fast fashion, companies overproduce to chase growing demand, creating a cycle of disposability. Every second, plastic-based textiles are manufactured, which are materials that take a millennia to decompose. This relentless production ignites climate change and soil erosion, turning our egotistic pursuit of reputation into a global environmental crisis. Now that I've explained overproduction, I will come to my final point, how we as individuals and a community can do to help. Though there are numerous problems relating to consumption and production, there are also many ways in which we can significantly work to get over this hurdle in our journey. As individuals, we can start by buying only the necessities of life so that we're not demanding for the making of more and more products. As a community, we can create community garbage and renewal systems to utilize what we already have and not demand for the making of more and taking more than what's actually needed. Now that I have explained overconsumption, overproduction, and what we as individuals and a community can do to help, the question I want to leave you with is, what kind of ancestors will we become? Will we be the one that turned a blind eye to excess, or the one that finally lived to learn to live in balance? The answer, I believe, depends on how we choose to consume and produce, not just for ourselves, but for all who will be on this planet after us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Karthien. I think that you shared some wonderful ideas with us. And again, we're continuing this theme of thinking about our environmental footprint, what we need to have in that room with us, and what we can continue to reuse as opposed to filling it up and filling up the planet with more waste. Thank you again. And let's move on to our next speaker. Help me welcome to the stage, please, Brandon Tong.
Hello, fellow students, teachers, and parents. Have you ever wondered how many lives are lost from hunger every year, even though the world produces enough food for everyone? Approximately 9 million people die from hunger every year. That number is larger than the population of some countries, yet many of us barely think of it. My name is Brandon Tong, and today I'm going to be talking about the United Nations' second Sustainable Development Goal, Zero Hunger. By the end of my speech, you'll understand why this goal matters and how each one of us can help. Zero hunger isn't just a slogan. It represents the end of countless days of suffering for millions of people. It means giving families the chance to live healthy, stable lives. But many of us take food for granted. We eat full meals, snacks, and desserts without thinking twice. But millions of people don't even have the satisfaction of a full meal every day. Hunger isn't just a feeling. It affects a person's ability to learn, work, and survive. But one of the biggest challenges that we face is that the world's population keeps growing. This leads to not enough jobs for everyone. When families don't have income, they cannot buy food. This creates a cycle of poverty and hunger, which is hard to escape. But the good news is that communities can break this cycle. Communities can create nonprofit organizations and food support programs, giving unemployed people meaningful work while also helping families in need. People who have experienced hunger often become the strongest advocates for change. Everyone in this room can help. As individuals, we can donate nutritious foods like fruits, vegetables, rice, or canned goods. We can volunteer at shelters or participate in food drives. Schools can teach students about hunger and global citizenship, while neighborhoods can organize fundraisers to help families get the food they need. Even governments can create programs to offer jobs to people who need them the most. When people receive help, they often want to help others too. This creates a ripple effect that spreads kindness and support throughout communities. Zero hunger is not an impossible dream. It is a goal that we can achieve if we work together. There might be obstacles, but together, through teamwork and perseverance, we can overcome this. Everyone has the power to make a difference, whether it's donating foods, raising awareness, or supporting organizations that fight hunger. Every action counts. Let's choose to use our power to help others. Let's create a world where no one goes to bed hungry. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon, for sharing those wonderful ideas with us. We know that having healthy sustenance will help us to have our brain power and continue to be able to make a stronger impact on the world. We are down to our last 5 speakers for this afternoon. So thank you for bearing with us, and thank you all for your patience. I know it's not easy to sit and wait your turn. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker to the stage, Ishana Sentharan.
Imagine a world without school, where children have no classrooms to learn in, no teachers to help them, and no chance to discover their talent. What if education was never an option? Because of this, many children around the world still cannot read or write. Millions of children face this every day. Good afternoon, parents, teachers, and honored guests. My name is Ishana, and today I'll be talking to you about something incredibly important: quality education. To make sure everyone can learn and grow, we must focus on 3 main things: equal access to education, relevant and effective learning, and qualified teachers in a supportive learning environment. Across the globe, 250 million children lack equal access to education. Every child, no matter their race, gender, or background, deserves a classroom and a future. Yet many live too far from school or cannot afford basic school supplies or school uniforms. Others are forced to work instead of learn just to support their families. When students miss out on education, communities suffer. Education is a right, not a privilege. When we give everyone the same chance to learn, we open a door to a better future for individuals and for the world. Quality education must also feel meaningful and effective. Students learn best when education relates to real life. When schools teach problem solving, teamwork, or critical thinking, students become confident and capable. These skills prepare us for challenges beyond the classroom. Communication and collaboration are just as valuable as memorizing facts. Education teaches how to think, not just what to memorize. When learning feels useful, students become more engaged, motivated, and curious. Relevant education turns knowledge into action and helps every child shape their own futures with purpose and confidence. This impact lasts far beyond the school years globally. Great teachers are the foundation of quality education. They do more than just deliver lessons. They inspire, guide, and believe in their students. So when teachers are fairly paid, supported, and well-trained, classrooms become a place of growth and confidence. Yet many educators around the world still lack resources such as technology, textbooks, and proper training. Students also need safe and welcoming environments where they feel respected and valued. When learners feel secure, they participate more, achieve better results. Strong teachers and supportive schools help every child get to their full potential. This shapes future leaders for generations ahead. In summary, quality education is not just about going to school or passing exams. It's about having the opportunity to become the best version of yourself. So when education is equal, relevant to real life, and is supported by dedicated, well-trained teachers, everyone has a chance to succeed. So let's work together to support schools, teachers, and students, and make sure that everyone, no matter who they are or where they came from, has access to quality education. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Ashana. I'm not sure if your future career path is headed into education, or maybe you'll be the education minister and ensuring all those things get implemented for our schools. But I have a very, very positive outlook on the future. So thank you for that. We're going to move on to our next speaker. Please help me to welcome to the stage Sophia Lee.
Don't think about making women fit the world. Think about making the world fit women. Gloria Steinem. Every man has a voice, and that means every woman should too. So why don't they? Why doesn't everyone, regardless of gender, receive equal treatment and behavior towards them? We should be empowering women and girls, not to feel better than men, but to feel just as good as them. In society today, we have improved a lot, but not enough. Globally, 1 out of 3 women still say that they face problems with gender inequality on a daily basis. Let's take a look at some types of prejudice that these women face in their everyday lives. First, wage gaps in salary. Research shows that around the world, in some countries, for every dollar men earn, women only get 80 to 90 cents, which is unfair because women do the same work for less. Even though 10 to 20 cents may not seem like a big difference, it doesn't change the fact that women do the same work and get paid less due to sexism. Second, marriage. Back in the day, women were forced to marry men a lot older than them, even as minors. The youngest woman to have ever been married was estimated to be around just 2 or 3 years old. Of course now, marriage is still mostly illegal until you are 18 years of age, but there is still illegal marriage happening around the world. The UN's Target 5.1 is to end all forms of discrimination against women and girls everywhere. Their progress is improving and showing. 70 countries allow men and women to have the same job, 38 countries have made 18 the legal age for marriage, and 63 countries have laws on unconsented assault and harassment. I would suggest that the UN starts a program that is mandatory for girls to enroll in when they are 4 to 13 years of age to learn self-defense. Target 5B is to enhance the use of enabling technology, in particular information and communications technology, to promote the empowerment of women. Something I would propose is to meet up with popular content creators on all platforms to promote the empowerment of women and girls. That way, the influencers could talk to people watching their videos and spread awareness about gender equality. Before ending my speech, I would like to thank the UN for protecting the women and girls and giving a voice to those who don't have one. As Chief Joseph once said, "The earth is the mother of all people, and all people should have equal rights upon it." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I think you can lead the whole troop here to the United Nations in New York and push these ideas on the world change makers. We are just 3 speakers away from the end now, and I'm trying to keep us on track for time. We're doing quite well here. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Vikasni Mathanagopal.
Good afternoon, everyone. Did you know that if everyone lived like the average person in an economically advanced country, we would need almost 3 Earths to provide enough supplies for the entire planet's population? Even though we don't produce plentiful for the human population, we still waste about 1/3 of all food produced, which is about 1.3 billion tons of food. My name is Shri, and today I'm here to talk about the need for responsible consumption and production. Responsible consumption is when people think about their needs and use accordingly. Responsible production is when companies use minimal resources to manufacture products. To begin, I would like to acknowledge two examples of overconsumption and excessive production. Food waste may seem harmless since it will just decompose naturally. However, simple acts like throwing away food can cause a huge chain reaction. When thrown away foods rot in landfills, methane is released, which leads to temperature rise and climate change. Climate change then affects food production, causing unstable food prices. This is why we should think about how our actions will affect our health and the cost of living. Electronic waste is another example that deeply affects our future. The average Canadian produces 20 to 25 kilograms of e-waste per year. Many of these electronic gadgets consist of detrimental substances, and when they are not recycled properly, these materials can leak into our environment, harming our wildlife and communities. E-waste also contains valuable metals that can be reused if not thrown away. Reusing these metals will mitigate the need for mining. Also, producing gadgets that have longer lifespans and the ability to update can reduce the need for excessive production. Now that I have spoken about the problems linked to overconsumption and excessive production, I would like to elucidate on some pragmatic solutions. One crucial solution is to make sure to pursue sustainable shopping habits. This means to only purchase what you need and make sure not to overconsume. As a responsible shopper, we must choose items that will influence companies to produce more eco-friendly items. Another way to be a more conscious shopper is to make sure to ignore extravagant trends. When you're a more responsible consumer, you further promote companies that use closed-loop production. This is a system in which items go back to the same production cycle, in which materials can come back as various different products. Finally, raising awareness through education can play a tremendous role. If people were more educated on how they could participate, more people would engage in habits like recycling, reusing, and repairing instead of replacing. To conclude, not all of our Earth's resources are replenishable. This is why thoughtful consumption and well-planned production is needed to preserve what we have. Awareness about problems like the harmful effects of food and e-waste and choosing meaningful solutions we can personally act on will help create a healthier planet. Together, our actions, big and small, can make a difference and protect our Earth for future generations. Thank you so much for your undivided attention, and I hope you understood why this ongoing issue is so critical. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, some wonderful ideas to raise awareness of our consumption and the way that we interact with the environment all around us. We're down to our final two speakers. Thank you everybody again for your patience. We have some equally fantastic ideas coming up. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Nico Papadakis.
Imagine for a moment, every tree in your neighborhood suddenly vanished. Now, multiply that by 13 million hectares every single year. That is the rate of which our world is losing its forests. Hello, my name's Nico, and I'm here to talk about life on land and the following topics of how plants and animals live on land, what plants and animals do for us, and how can plants and animals, what can the UN help protect plants and animals? I chose this topic because I felt the need to inform you all about what is happening in our world on land today. According to the UN, 1 million plant species are currently threatened with extinction. Let me say that again, 1 million. This is happening now on our watch. Plants need 3 things to survive: sun, water, and air. Plants cannot just go to the store and get food like us, so they have to make it themselves by photosynthesis. Similar to plants, animals also need food, water, and air. Instead, animals do not photosynthesize. They hunt for food. Small animals do a lot in the food chain. They basically feed themselves to bigger animals instead, or they're not trying to, but they get hunted anyways. Some animals even eat their babies just to survive if they can't find food. Plants and animals help us with many things. Plants and trees use photosynthesis to make food for themselves, but while they're making food, they also create and then exhale oxygen for us to use. The world is mostly nitrogen, so they inhale the nitrogen and then exhale oxygen and turn it into their food. On the other hand, animals do not create oxygen but food. We can take bees, for example. Bees go to plants, pollinate them, and gives us fruit and vegetables. Bees not only pollinate flowers, but they also make nature's sugar, honey. Bees make honey in a process called honey raping, dehydration, and honey making process, where they gather up all of the pollen, bring it back to the hive, and vomit or swallow the nectar, which creates honey. The UN's mission is to develop friendly relations among nations, achieve international cooperation on global problems. So, what can the UN do in this case with life on land? Well, firstly, protect the special places where they live which can be destroyed by climate change, which brings me to my next point. We can stop taking down trees. Don't litter, stop smoking, use less energy at home, cycle plastic, paper, and so on. In conclusion, I talked about how plants and animals live on land, what plants and animals do for us, and how can the UN help protect animals and plants. Before I end the speech, I would like to recite a quote from Nelson Mandela to show that we should never give up or stop using our voices for what is right. A winner is a dreamer that never gives up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Nico. I hope that you continue to keep dreaming and turn yourself into a winner. I love that quote. Very nicely done. And you've given us a lot to think about. We're moving on to our final speaker in our age 11 to 12 category. One more reminder, these kids are only 11 to 12 years old. I can't believe the thoughts that are coming out of them. And we have our final speaker to wrap things up for us. Please help me in welcoming Valeria Verheeren.
The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. That quote was said by Albert Einstein. There are hundreds of quotes that I could have chosen, but I chose this one to declare the problem with climate change and how people like you and I should help take action, because truly, we are all at fault here. I'm Valeria, and I'm here to talk about climate change and why action is needed, because I believe that it impacts from the smallest thing to something that changes a whole society. Firstly, a healthy society all starts with a healthy climate. Not just the atmosphere, but also the environment with nature. And a city environment with cities and communities. These are important factors if we want to make the world a better place to live. However, we mustn't forget the problems. Problems like us, specifically our actions. Our actions are the reason climate change is happening. Every single problem in the world is connected to what we do. Poverty, habitat destruction, pollution, and waste disposal are all our fault. This comes to the point where we can't even enjoy our vacation. When we want to swim in the no longer blue oceans, we can't because of the pollution that we have caused. The atmosphere is also impacted deeply because of climate change. carbon dioxide, global temperature, methane, sea level, and ocean warmth have all increased in these past years. These are all vital signs that global warming is crucial. But not only the atmosphere is endangered, multiple things are impacted by climate change, such as groceries and goods. They're affected with inflation because the weather conditions are too harsh for the crops to grow, so the farmers end up needing to increase the price so they can still barely make enough profit. All these events are urgent calls for help. These are all signs that the earth is dying. The earth is already in poor condition. Let's not make it worse. So, to help improve and take action, here are some ways where we can help make a difference. Reduce the use of energy in your household. Try to use the lights less often. Shower shorter, or if you can't do that, you can try to use the energy more efficiently. Maybe use the same amount of water, for example, but use it for more purposes. At last, I hope my speech was enough to show you that I care, and you should too, because the world is slowly changing for the worse. Stage 5 hurricanes, wildfires in winter, lizards changing genders, goats getting smaller, and simultaneous disasters are now suddenly becoming normal. I began the speech by saying how awful climate change is. But we don't have to end it there. Imagine a world where clean air, clean streets, and clear oceans aren't a privilege. We can still have that choice. If you want to change the world, change the way that you live, so the earth can too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valeria. I think that the key takeaway there is even just being conscious of our consumption brings about change and reminds us of the consciousness we need to have in how we consume things. So this marks the conclusion of our speeches for the 11 to 12 age category. Let's give one more massive round of applause to all of our young speakers. They're truly outstanding presentations. Thank you all so much. Judges, we're going to ask you to adjourn to your deliberations, and you guys have the very difficult task of choosing our top speakers today. As we conclude the speaking portion of the event, I just want to express my genuine gratitude and appreciation for each and every one of our extraordinary finalists. Your presentations have been deeply inspiring, and you have each brought unique, innovative perspectives to the global challenge of addressing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you for the incredible dedication and effort you put into preparing and delivering such impactful speeches, your courage to stand up, and your creativity in problem solving shine through, and it has been a privilege to watch all of your talents coming out today. For all of our guests today, we're going to take a brief intermission right now. I believe there are still some refreshments available in the Student Center. You can follow the Bishop Strawn students and staff if you're unsure of where to go. And we will resume our program here in this theater for the final awards ceremony at 5 p.m. So thank you very much. We look forward to welcoming you back soon.